All right. Well, the Young Dancer Project is a world effort by UNESCO, particularly the International Dance Council. UNESCO is the United Nations Engineering, Science, and Cultural Organization. And well, we're trying to get this working in a number of different countries. Right now, we've got groups on the ground in the Philippines, in Croatia, in a number of countries in Africa. We're also working in India. The Young Dancer Project is simply just the overall name for the effort itself. What it gets called in other cities and other areas is going to be dependent upon who's running it, who's working it, who the primary assistants are, who the sponsors are, because of course this is going to be depending upon the local communities. There are governments that are going to be getting involved with their governmental organizations, and there are state organizations that will be lending assistance, as well as community funding. So it's a three-tiered system here in the United States. So how we had it working here is it got its start with a fellow who's now on the board of supervisors here in San Francisco, a fellow by the name of Mr. Norman Yee, who came to me in 2011 to give him consult on a little program that he'd started with 8 schools. He wanted to know how to make the program expand, and once I took a look at what he had, I told him, put your seed money into after-school programs through the YMCA. The Y is not the only group that actually administers after-school programs on school sites. Boys and Girls Clubs also do that on a national level. Plus, there are other nonprofits that work locally with specific cities, like the Jewish Community Centers. Here in the Bay Area is Bay Area Community Resources. There are other local nonprofits that also get involved. And there are a lot of groups that love to lend assist by ways of fundraising. What I've been doing with certain groups is I've been giving them tips on nonprofit groups in their areas that love to raise funds for youth sport programs. And the Young Dancer program in after school is just the very beginning of a process by which we get social dancing and dance sport programs back into the system and inject some health and wellness back into the population at large. After school programs themselves in many city areas are administered on school sites. I'm going to just draw this out. You've got after school programs which are on school sites administered between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. We call that the danger zone for most of our inner city youth because, you know, many parents are still working their jobs and the kids are pretty much left on their own. And, you know, that's a highly dangerous time where there's a lot of crime on the streets, a lot of drugs and people who can really cause them an awful lot of harm if they're left to their own devices. So after school programs give them homework assistance, assistance with nutrition for families who have problems keeping their kids well fed. And we also give them physical fitness programs in order to keep them strong and healthy. So you've got that going on the after school side itself. In areas where we actually have cities that are fairly well spread out, like Los Angeles, which is fairly large and sprawling, these programs will actually take place on the nonprofit sites, like the YMCA, where the kids will be bused. So you've got Y sites where those programs might occur. So what happens is each of these groups after school, they get money from the federal government. They also get some assistance from the state in order to have people available to give these kids the assistance that they need with that homework assistance and that physical fitness programming, as well as food to keep them happy and healthy. And the YMCA, as well as Boys and Girls Club and other nonprofits, also provide that instruction, as well as some volunteers and also local groups who will also provide instructors as well. What happens here is what local dance groups will be doing is we'll be stepping in and providing physical fitness in the form of social dance. So we'd be stepping in and being that third partner, coming in and teaching kids how to dance. We start with a basic 12-week program. That is the core program. Some groups, some cities might want us to do more. There are certain cities that have asked us to do it all year long. Some cities might want us just to work with a few schools. There are certain cities like Kansas City wanted us to come in and work with all 90 of their schools. They said, hey, how many teachers do you have? We want you. El Paso, Texas wanted very much the same thing. And we were like overwhelmed. Wow, can we come up with the money for that? St. Louis, Missouri also said very much the same thing. Can you get as many people as you can? So what we do is hunt for those funds through grants, foundations, and what we call strategic partners that are there in the community. And there are a great many. You have your standards, the Elks clubs, the Eagles clubs, the Rotary clubs, as well as many others that are quite locally based rather than the national organizations that you see in every city that raise funds for just purposes like this, to make certain that these kids are happy and healthy and learning appropriate behaviors and getting those well-ordered mechanisms by which they learn. And so we provide this service and teach them social dances where they learn about each other's cultures, because we have a great mix of many different types of societies that occur within a city. And through this partnership, what we do is we let the community at large know how much social dancing unifies diverse peoples in ways nothing else can. And that's just through the after-school program. And at the end of that 10 to 12 week period, what we have is 2 weeks of friendly competition between all the schools that get involved, bringing in local celebrities or people on the school board or even in city government to be our judges. And everybody dresses up in their best and has a really good time. Well, for the after-school programs, what occurs, you're working with the Board of Education. The principals or other administrators with the Board of Education will be hiring the instructors who will be teaching their kids in the after-school program. And some of these will be wanting to work with the people that they already have within the program that they've been working with for many years. Some of them will be wanting to hire dance instructors. So with every different community, you're going to be having a pool available. In other communities, you're going to be having dance masters who will be putting together material in accordance with the demographic of that city or community area. This is going to be in accordance with the contract that the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club has with that school district. That's part of the necessity. And what happens is you'll be holding seminars to make certain that all the instructors have the material for the dances that the children are going to be learning before you actually start the program itself. Well, what you get as that possibility is you've got your instructors coming in from different schools who have the opportunity to expose the youth to what it is they have learned as instructors as the programs continue year after year. Through attrition itself, the after-school programs are going to be hiring more and more of the actual dance instructors rather than using their own volunteers. The program itself is going to be pulling in more funds for these programs as we get more and more public exposure for the program itself. Anybody taking a look at those videos is going to be able to see how much public interest these programs pull in, because the finals themselves, those halls get very full of a lot of people shouting and cheering and going absolutely crazy. That's what pulled me in on this when I worked with Norman Yee.
Okay.
Was the total thrill that people had. And they pulled in the local school jazz bands to play during their little rest periods. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house watching these kids dance. It was a huge thrill. And there were people on the sidelines selling jewelry. There were vendors with the little statuettes that we always see at the dance competitions. They don't allow advertisers for the individual dance schools. I have to be honest about that. But the instructors themselves get to show what the schools learn. And of course, the parents of these kids, when they see these kids dance, they want to find out who's that teacher, where they're from.